Noam Chomsky, he has been kidnapped by Charlie Kirk.
That motherfucker.
Who plans on executing him at CPAC. In exchange, he has promised to get the Exploding Star podcast channel 1 billion views.
Well, what's the difference between a 90-year-old person and a dead person?
Not much. Yeah.
I'm pro crackhead now after last week's episode, man.
Yeah.
Hunter Biden's sick as f***.
If that's what it leads to, be a super rich son that can travel around the world and have sex with a giant catalog of prostitutes, then sign me up.
This may be a controversial take, but if I hit the lottery, I would smoke so much crack, probably.
I don't think it's controversial. I mean, I think that's kind of what you do when you hit the lottery, right? I think stuff like that's way more prevalent at the higher ends of society than probably most people know.
Because the problem with crack is once you run out, that's what sucks.
Yeah.
If you never run out,
it's got everything
living the dream, baby.
You got your own private doctors that come there and make sure your crack is as healthy as possible. You know, you can actually see a dentist, get your teeth taken care of. Nothing to worry about.
It's great for the lungs, I think.
Godspeed, forward.
I don't have any news this week. I don't think anything happened. Zelensky blew up the fucking Crimean Bridge, which is pretty sick, but nothing else happened this week.
There was the final episode of the January 6th committee hearings.
Yes.
Oh, kind of a letdown. No momentous speeches, no big battle scene, no big reveals.
There was reveals. We got the Secret Service texts that we thought we would never get. Supposedly they disappeared into thin air, but somehow they got them somehow, somewhere.
What we didn't learn anything from. They just said, we got them, right?
No, we learned that the Secret Service...
Must have missed this part.
Well, there wasn't anything major, but they knew about all the Proud Boy shit. They knew
they knew that there was
ammo depot outside of the city. They knew all this. They knew everything that was happening.
We already knew that, right? I mean, I guess we
didn't know they knew.
If other intelligence services knew, they knew, right? If the NSA, Homeland Security, knows that there's these right-wing paramilitary groups forming up at the Capitol, surely they knew that they had some ammo depots in the fucking hotel room in Virginia.
The Secret Service knew, Trump knew.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I feel like we already knew this.
Yes, but this is confirmation.
Yeah, it's confirmation of what we already knew, which is just not interesting to me.
I think what's more interesting is the fact that they deleted it. They deleted all these texts, and how were they going to get away with that, dude?
I mean, they're the Secret Service. I mean, God.
Somebody subpoenas text messages on your phone and you delete the text messages right then? I'd be too scared.
Yeah, I mean, that's called tampering with physical evidence. It's a crime for most people.
Not for cops. Well, let's get into it here. I watched the Jeffrey Dahmer documentary. I started watching the narrative show, which started off pretty good, but then the documentary came out, and it's fucking sick. It's only 3 episodes.
The documentary?
Came out 2 weeks after the dramatized version, basically.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been hearing about the dramatized version. I understand it's pretty good. It's weird how those always coincide. They just have all these films canned, and when one good film comes out, there's at least 2 or 3 others that are ready to go to just coattail on the hype of the one big show.
I think they're both Netflix studios, I believe.
Oh,
Netflix just had,
sense. So they plan it together. This is going to be Shark Week, Jeffrey Dahmer Week.
Dude, they put a lot into their documentaries. Netflix does.
Really? Of course, yeah, they do.
What was the one I watched not that long ago? I don't know, but the production was it was insane, dude. The production value was it was more the editing.
Yeah.
It was just, I've never seen editing that fucking good in anything.
I've got some chest pain, and they say I should have some tests, but I don't have the money, and would, in a sense, scam her into sending money, which he would then use to make bombs.
It was just some dumb documentary.
It's fantastic. I watch a lot of documentaries on YouTube. Every once in a while, you'll accidentally click on some History Channel documentary from 2002. It's God, what is this shit?
Yeah, this is awful.
So horrible. Everything about it just, ugh.
If I remember what documentary that was, I'll send it to you, because just the cuts and just the editing, the zoom and just all these effects, weird dramatic lighting, just way out of control for some shitty documentary. They spent $20 billion making this stupid thing.
But so Jeffrey Dahmer.
Well, you want the details?
Well, no,
he's fucking sick, man.
Oh, was he?
He's kind of like Hannibal Lecter. Are you going to watch it? If you care if I spoil it. Spoilers for Jeffrey Dahmer.
I will probably. I'm going to watch this series, the dramatized, the American Horror Story guy.
I hate all that stuff.
I'm not a fan either. But that guy, whoever he is, he's a really good actor.
That's what they say.
Yeah, he does a lot of good shit.
I don't like the dramatized stuff, but the documentary was, man, he did some fucked up shit to them. Black boys.
Yeah, well, he's probably a hero of the Republican Party, teaching young boys not to be gay, right?
Oh, you think he was doing God's work?
Yeah, he was probably working with Tulsi Gabbard's dad. He was one of them pray the gay away. I think that's what I heard, is they were good friends.
Huh.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Tulsi Gabbard's dad, whoever that is, was good friends with Jeffrey Dahmer. I think he even paid for his legal defense. He may have worked at that camp for him for a little bit.
Well, they are violating the teachings of God, so they deserve it.
Yeah.
They deserve to have a fucking
man to lie with another man is an abomination. Did you hear the Tulsi Gabbard thing? Her I left the left speech that she just made?
I saw that.
Her round of interviews that she had to do to let everybody know that she's leaving the left.
I can't stand to watch her, man. Why does she have so many teeth? She's like a shark. She doesn't look right.
I don't know. First off, I get taken in. I feel like really early on, I get taken in by these people. Of course, really early on, she wasn't saying the shit she's been saying over the past couple of years. But 5 years ago, Tulsi, before she ran for president, there was a lot of things she was saying that through the spectrum of what the Democratic Party had to offer, I was like, this is somebody I would be happy to have as the president. I like Dave Rubin when he first left TYT. He was
really?
Yeah. Of course, what he was saying back then was that Dave Rubin is very different than modern day Dave Rubin. He was basically just, he was lefty, but TYT's fucking out of their mind. That was basically his whole thing.
It is pretty interesting how many people watch TYT.
Yeah.
Compared to how good
I think they've lost a lot of viewers, but you don't have that same thing the other way around. There's all these left people. Tulsi Gabbard, obviously Dave Rubin.
Yeah, they're going where the money is, man.
Tim Pool. But you just don't have it the other way. And surely
nobody leaves the right. What do you mean?
There's people who would be somebody that left the right.
They get paid too well. They're not going to leave.
I'm sure that it happens, but when it happens, it's not a publicized thing that they're going to go out and they're going to make money off of. Whereas when someone leaves the left, it is a publicity event. It's a stunt. It's often because they're being paid. They're getting a contract. With Tulsi, she's probably going to be a Fox News host or whatever.
It's really insidious because they're taking leftist viewers with them. Yeah. They're there's some percentage of them.
I never got Tulsi. I imagine we can't play the JRE clip because it'll probably do some copyright shit. But she just gives the most boilerplate word salad reason, because the woke elitist left, they've gone so crazy, and so that's why she has to leave the left. And I don't even get that really on any level. Okay, so there's people on your team that get a little crazy about wanting there to be black elves and rings of power, and so therefore your views on unions has to change. You see what I'm saying? Why are your views on all these other lefty issues changing? Because you're upset by some of the views of some of the people that are on your side. Some of the people on your side. You're
ascribing logic and reason to these people. Yeah. They don't deserve. They were all riding the coattail of the Bernie campaign. They weren't even leftists. They're just politicians.
I get that. So I get that it doesn't matter to Tulsi. She's just doing this for money. But the people that are watching her say, the Democratic Party is a leftist cabal of warmongering wokesters. And so that's why I can't support Medicare for all. The people listen to that, how does that equate in their mind? How do they square that circle? Absolutely, completely. Those two things have nothing to do with one another.
Have you met people?
I have. I've been on the internet once.
You need to come to Bardstown sometime. I know it's bad out there, but the quality of human being that resides in this county, and particularly this town, is very interesting. They all look alike, and they're very similar.
There was a older gentleman. He's a very nice guy. Him and his wife, my aunt's husband, stopped by my mom's the other day, and I happened to go over there. And he was really upset that Biden did all those shutdowns when COVID started. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And what was it? And about the vaccine mandates that Biden was pushing through. And I'm sitting there thinking, my memory's not as good as it was. I take benzos pretty much every day, but I think that Trump was president when all that stuff was going on, but somehow they've ascribed this all to Biden, and they're viewing everything from the past. This is all, it was either Biden doing it or it was the Democratic Party somehow was usurping power from Trump, and we're doing these things, behind his back. I don't know. It was complete non sequitur.
Yeah.
It didn't make any fucking sense.
If you need proof that like the Republican base, like the people who vote for Republicans, are beyond help and beyond, you can't save them. It's the fact that, Donald Trump is, every time he gets behind a microphone, he touts the vaccine. He created the vaccine. It's the best vaccine ever. It's the greatest. And then all of his, all the Republican Party, the rest of the Republican Party is anti-vax. So it doesn't even make logic.
The vaccine is terrible, but he created it and it's really good what he did, but it's awful also. And
they ignore the things about Trump that the Trump movement doesn't agree with. And they let it ride. They don't question him about it or like get mad at him for it. Anyway, the reason I brought up Dahmer is because paraphilia, this sexual deviance. We're going to talk a little pedophilia because there is a conspiracy in this, really in the world, but in this country specifically, there's a conspiracy among the elites, particularly Hillary Clinton, obviously, to run this international pedophile ring. So we're going to try to bust this ring up. Others have tried. Trump was supposed to do it. I don't know what happened to that. That's what we're here for. Yeah. So let's get right into it here.
I think he was getting ready to, but the election was stolen.
Ah, shit.
Right before he had their names written down at his desk.
That's why they were storming the Capitol.
Yeah, he was going to do that. If he was in that office more than 3 weeks more, he was going to finish building the wall that he already built. I imagine it was like priority 2 right after getting the wall done.
What's the name of the head of the Oath Keepers? What was his name? I don't recall. He just got indicted, but the one with the eye patch.
He is the commander-in-chief. He could deploy the U.S. military on the border, as Wilson did back in 1916 when Pancho Villa raided across the border. Or he could also just call the National Guard units of each state in federal service and put them on the border. He hasn't done those 2 things.
His whole idea was that they were storming the Capitol to get Trump back in there so Trump could release all the FBI, like all the classified documents. Like all the documents about the aliens, all the documents about like the child sex rings, all that stuff.
Well, he tried. That's why he took him with him.
He didn't release them, though. What's in the documents?
He was getting ready to. He was poring over them with a fine-tooth comb like Julian Assange with the WikiLeaks documents.
So what is pedophilia? Pedophilia is distinguished by not the mere act of abusing a child, but it is the sexual desire for children, essentially, scientifically speaking. This is considered a mental disorder. But they are not psychopaths, according to medical experts on this subject. And I think they consider it a mental disorder because there are victims involved, obviously.
Born or made?
Interestingly, the science in general says that pedophiles appear to be born, not made. The stuff that we've seen that are different in pedophiles in their brain functioning is all stuff that doesn't happen during the course of life.
Are you saying that for the pedophile, their attraction to children is natural?
They experience it as natural. They did not pick it. They come to realize it over the course of life. The way that most of them describe it starts out like any of us. When they're, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, they get crushes on people around their age, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. And then most of us, as we grow older, we continue to get crushes on and experience attractions to people roughly around our age, growing into adulthood as we grow into adulthood. For the pedophiles, however, when they start becoming 14, 15, 16, they're still getting crushes and finding themselves attracted to 8, 9, 10 years old. So it takes them until there's enough contrast between their own age and the people they're attracted to before they start realizing there's something different about them.
That implies it's not a choice for them, that it's actually a sexual orientation.
Correct. All the evidence suggests that they did not pick to be attracted to children any more than the rest of us picked to be attracted to adults.
So that's a big call, isn't it?
It is a big call, and I don't make it easily. I don't think anybody makes it easily.
So, if it is biological, if the brain is wired that way, it also implies, doesn't it, that the wiring cannot be changed. There is no cure.
That's what it seems to suggest now. I hesitate ever to say that the future will not produce some technology that I could not predict. But we don't have any technology, we don't have any surgery, we don't have any intervention currently that really can impact the basic connective structure of the brain.
No medication?
No medication, no therapy, no surgery. Nobody's produced...
well, aside from castration.
Well, that's not exactly a cure. That wouldn't turn a pedophile... castration wouldn't turn a pedophile into a non-pedophile. Castration, of course, removes a person's sex drive. Now, that can be very beneficial. A lot of people who are attracted to something that they cannot enact would rather live a life without a sex drive than a sex drive they have to spend every minute of every day actively suppressing. But it's not a cure in the sense that it's turning a pedophile into a non-pedophile, that they will now be attracted to adults and be able to, have a relationship, become a parent and so on.
So a nice video here from 60 Minutes. Australia, I believe, they cover some basic points. So this is something you're maybe not born with, but it's something that naturally develops, naturally occurs. It's not the result of trauma necessarily in childhood. It's basically what he talks about is cross-wiring. The brain isn't wired correctly, which is a meaningless statement essentially because the brain's not fucking wires. It's a network, a very complex network, of course.
But it's kind of like essentially just an arrested development of your sexual attraction, right?
It could be interpreted that way, certainly.
So, what he was saying makes sense. When you're 10, you're attracted to other 10-year-olds, and
that's one way to look at it. Obviously, you can draw parallels with homosexuality. These are sexual deviants from the mainstream, from the majority.
Yeah, I've heard that argument be made.
Yeah,
that essentially there's no difference. It's really just the kind of the harm to the individual and the harm to society caused by one is infinitely greater than the other, which is essentially harmless.
Yeah, consenting adults.
Yeah, consenting. Yeah.
But the way we think about pedophilia, we're not that charitable towards pedophiles. Obviously.
No, definitely not. I think
they're the scum of the earth.
My initial inclination with anybody like that is, I don't care if you just put them down on the spot, but realistically, that's something that they didn't choose, and there before the grace of God go I. That could have been any of us if we'd our brain had a different hormone at a certain point in time, a certain key point in our development. It's not a choice to do harm to other people. It's just kind of an indelible aspect of your personality and your sex drive.
It's like Jeffrey Dahmer. He didn't ask to be attracted to dead body parts. He just was.
We all have our cross to bear.
Before he ever harmed anyone, he stole a mannequin and was masturbating to the mannequin parts, like the arm and legs. And he would take off the mannequin.
Problem solver.
Again, he talks about in this video that we just watched, there's no cure except castration. Either they use chemical castration now as opposed to actual castration.
Is that something that they actually do now? If you get caught, if you're a pedophile, you get caught, serve your term. Is that something that's offered by the government, I guess, as part of your rehabilitation? I know they used to do that for homosexuals back in the day. What was the Turing? The guy that did the Turing test?
Yeah.
He was gay, cracked the Enigma code for the UK during World War II. And after the end of the war, they found out he was gay, and they did a chemical castration. I guess they just gave him estrogen. I don't know exactly what it was, but
it's just hormone treatment.
But it was mandated by the government. He had to either go to prison or he could start taking these hormone treatments.
Yeah. Well, as far as I know, that's not the case in this country. There is a country where they do some sort of something like that. Maybe Iran. I don't really remember, but not this country, as far as I know. But it is an option. If you want to go to the doctor and get hormones, you can. How prevalent is pedophilia? Unknown. Estimates are between 1% and 5% of the male population. Quite a few people.
That's a lot more than I would have. Now, I guess that would be people that maybe have an attraction to children in addition to people their age. What pedophilia, it's not just exclusive to children, or is it?
No, not necessarily.
So typically it could be people your age plus children. So you could have a normal, healthy, fulfilled sex life with people your age.
You're always going to be attracted to children. It's like gay people that get married. They really want that dick.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm thinking I'm really attracted to redheads.
Yeah.
But I'm okay fucking brunettes.
I think it's
I don't know.
I guess maybe if there's if you're comparing a 17-year-old to an 18-year-old, but I don't think that's what we're talking about here.
Well, you could be really attracted to 35-year-old women and 12-year-olds.
No, I don't think so, man.
I don't know. I'm not asking.
I don't know either, but almost 0%.
1 to 5%. That's fucking crazy.
That's a lot of people.
I would have thought it would have been 0.002%.
No, 5% is the number that's usually thrown around, but the estimates are from 1 to 5%. We don't know females. They estimate it's below 1%, but we don't really know. There's several reasons. Underreporting is what is typically cited for the reason we don't really know as far as females, because it doesn't get reported as often when the victim is a male, obviously, especially when it's an older male, like a school-age student or something like that. And
15-year-old boy that gets to bang the hot teacher.
Yeah. Rad.
Holla.
I still don't know how I feel about that, but
I know exactly how I feel.
I remember being 15. I don't think I would mind.
Yeah,
If she was good looking. Yeah. I would not have felt victimized. But, some people may. Who knows? There's also the fact that women have a lot of access to very young kids who can't really report at all. So we don't really know how often that occurs. But it's a very small percent. It's nothing close to like the males, obviously. Among convicted sex criminals where the victim was a minor, women make up between 0.4 and 4%. Among convicted sex criminals where the victim was a minor, women make up between 0.4 and 4%.
So it's like 4% of convicted sex offenders, not 4% of the total population of women.
Correct.
Okay, yeah.
What are potential risk factors for pedophilia? Now let's get into the meat here. What do we need to watch out for?
Oh my gosh.
1 to 5%. So if you know 20 people, one of them is probably a pedophile, man. You know 20 people.
I know 20 people.
Yeah.
But I got my suspicions.
Okay. A series of studies since 2000 have pointed out correlative differences between pedophiles and control groups. So these are correlative differences. A 2004 study in the journal Neuropsychology highlighted some of these correlative differences. I'll choose to call these red flags. Quoting from the abstract, pedophilia shows significant negative correlations with IQ and immediate and delayed recall memory. I know you've had some memory issues, Tony.
Oh, Jesus. So I was waiting, like, other warning signs, guy that wear blue plaid shirts, receding hairlines with full beards.
Pedophilia was also related to non-right-handedness, even after co-varying age and IQ.
The left hand is the devil's hand.
There's speculation this has to do with the wiring, the way left-handed people, the wiring is slightly different, the hemispheres communicate differently.
You just complained about them calling it wiring, and then there you go. The networking.
Yeah. Well, this is all very...
Get your own metaphor.
This is all very sketchy science. I should probably point that out initially before we get into this. But a 2007 study by James Cantor et al. Concluded that, quote, the pedophilic and the hebephilic, so that's what you were talking about, the pubescent minors. So the pedophilic and the hebephilic sexual offenders were significantly shorter than the teleophilic non-offender control groups. Significantly shorter, significant more instances of left-handedness, significantly lower IQ and short-term memory recall. A 2008 study published in the Archives of Sexual Behavior looked at correlative differences in those with paraphilic behavior more generally. So this is all paraphilic groups, such as Jeffrey Dahmer and so on. The study found the following significant factors distinguishing those with higher paraphilic tendencies. They had a greater number of older brothers. Michael Jackson, of course, we know all about that one.
Oh, yes, we do.
Many brothers. A higher 2D to 4D digit ratio.
Oh, that's your... this finger?
A high ratio means the length of the index finger compared with the ring finger. And the theory is that there is more androgen receptor sensitivity in the ring finger as opposed to the index finger. And there is higher androgen exposure in people with a lower 2D to 4D digit ratio. Which
this sounds like pseudoscience.
It's considered pseudoscience.
Okay.
But it is sort of talked about quite a bit. And this is tossed around a lot in other areas of... There's tons of studies having to do with this.
Talked about quite a bit, too.
There are actual studies that reference this 2D to 4D ratio.
Okay, so how's it go? Which ones?
So a high 2D to 4D ratio means your index finger is longer.
This is 2D. This is...
Right.
Okay.
So typically, a male would have a lower 2D to 4D ratio due to higher androgen exposure in the womb, whereas a female would have a higher 2D to 4D ratio due to lower androgen exposure, lower testosterone, and similar compound exposure in the womb in early childhood.
Okay, so I got my 4Ds, I guess, bigger.
What are you worried about yourself over here?
I was worried.
You don't know if you're a pedophile?
I was like, I hope I didn't have too much estrogen exposure in the womb.
Like, I'm having these weird thoughts lately.
Your Honor, my ring finger is longer than my pointer finger. I rest my case.
And
disregard those files.
Finally here, final red flag, a significantly higher likelihood of being left-handed, like Jeff Bezos is, famously.
It's all coming together now.
Dun, dun, dun.
What about Hillary Clinton? 4%.
Is she a female? I don't know if I consider her what I would consider her.
Yeah, she's a lizard person.
Yeah, they can swap gender, I think. I learned that from Jurassic Park. The most important red flag. What's the easiest way to identify a pedophile? As everyone knows, it's very easy because they look like pedophiles. Or do they? We will find out. We're going to play a game, Spot the Pedophile. All right, here's our first contestant. These are all convicts.
All convicts, okay.
Yes.
But we don't know, I don't know if they're
pedophiles or some other type of criminal scum.
I'm going to be horrible at this because I'm always the person that whenever it turns out someone was a pedophile, I was like, oh, he looked like a nice young fella. It's awful that he went that way. Jared Fogle. I would have never suspected Jared Fogle.
Really?
Never.
Because he's fat? Or he was fat?
I just thought he was really into Subway sandwiches and helping people lose weight. I guess it turned out he was like a child sex tourist.
I didn't read that much about him. I didn't know that.
I listened to something about him. And yeah, he would he would travel to all these different countries and he would like have child prostitutes set up by his fixers. He'd go there and have sex with them and take pictures of them and then trade pictures. It's like a rich person thing. Like he would hang out in these rich circles and they would just travel around.
I think it was like Eastern Europe where it's not illegal.
Like, or whatever. I don't know about Eastern Europe. I remember them talking about like the Philippines or Thailand, somewhere in Southeast Asia. But I think he was doing it in a lot of places.
Thailand,
I think when the conviction that he got, he was even talking, there was a middle school that he went and gave a speech to, and he ended up befriending one of the teachers of the principal and basically started, this here in the U.S., basically started asking the principal if he could set up cameras like in the bathroom or asking them.
Oh my God, dude.
Like he was very brazen.
That's fucked up that he tried that hard to get caught and still couldn't get caught because he's fucking rich.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
So, all right, this man spoke out against Donald Trump's social media accounts being banned after the January 6th attack. His family is Catholic, which could give you a clue.
I'm already got pedophile written all over him already.
He is left-handed.
Oh.
That's why you need a
What
producer.
did you know about him when you were meeting with him, as you've said yourself, in the hopes of raising money?
I had dinners with him. I regret doing that. He had relationships with people he said, would give to global health, which is a interest I have. Not nearly enough philanthropy goes in that direction. Those meetings were a mistake. They didn't result in what.
Meeting Epstein was a mistake, he says.
It sounds like me trying to explain to the cops not to investigate that white residue in the baggie. What you see is I
was doing charity work.
I bake, and I had some cream of tartar, and the box busted, so I put it in the corner.
I think I've done that before.
Corner of a sandwich baggie, and
cops find it like an empty baggie with residue. I'm like,
baking soda.
Can't really come up with nothing. Sorry. But this is the young Bill Gates. He got like a traffic arrest of some sort. He was a DUI or something.
It wouldn't be a traffic infraction. I'm sure his parents had the money. He wouldn't have got a contempt for not paying it. His parents were pretty wealthy.
Probably cruising the playgrounds, knowing what we know now about Bill Gates.
It's not surprising.
All right. Of course, he's a pedophile. It's fucking Bill Gates. He is the head of the World Pedophile International Organization.
That's what I hear.
He's one of the Politburo members, anyway.
Hanging out at Comet Pizza.
In the basement,
In the basement, yeah.
All right. Next up. It's a shitty photo, a very small photo here you're working with. I can't zoom in because I'm using paint to make it work. Next up, spot the pedophile. This gentleman was raised in Pensacola, Florida, state of craziness. He was admitted to the Florida and Georgia Bar Associations in the mid-1980s. He has a wife and 3 children. His specialty is tax and financial crimes, and his work as a lawyer.
Oh.
Is he a pedophile? Not too much to go on here, but you have a photo and you have some clues.
Yeah, well, he's rich and powerful.
Mm-hmm.
He deals with other rich and powerful people that are in trouble that may like to offer bribes in the form of cash or children. It looks like he's hanging out at like a baseball, like a children's baseball field. So. Talking to parents, trying to assuage their fears so he can corral all their children into the back of his van. So I'm calling it pedophile.
Of course, yes, you're correct. Ding, ding, ding. A lawyer. Come on. Dershowitz is a lawyer. He's everything bad. He was caught in a sting operation flying to meet up with the mother of a 5-year-old girl.
Oh, my God.
Who was soliciting her daughter for sex.
Oh.
This was actually a sting, though. It was an FBI agent. It wasn't a real kid. This is John Atchison, also known as, he goes by J.D. Roy Atchison. He wasn't just a lawyer. He was assistant prosecutor, assistant state attorney, something like that. He was a big deal. He was a pretty big deal, man.
Sure he was. Realistically, he was probably just doing undercover work. I'm sure he cared a lot about the children of the state of which he was a prosecutor. And, he was setting up his own sting operation, and they just stung his sting operation.
I think what happened was, in Florida, I think pedophilia is legal.
Just the northern part.
Federally,
so, South Florida.
It's like weed, you know. The feds will still get you. He was charged with multiple federal felonies. 3 weeks after his arrest, he hung himself in his cell and died. Good riddance. He was flying to meet the 5-year-old with a bottle of petroleum jelly.
Was he really?
Yes, and a dolly.
Jesus Christ.
And like some other toys.
Oh, some fucking people are just disgusting.
I know, this is the whole free will thing. It's not their fault that they're attracted to the children, but to act upon it, it's very fucked up.
Yeah, exactly. Especially somebody of his age. You know, I've always had a very deep attraction to Scarlett Johansson.
Oh my God.
But, you know, I just jerk off to, I don't know. Well, I mean, I was going to say I jerk off to porn, but can't really do that either if you're a pedophile.
Well, they have a whole category of hentai devoted to young-looking people. But no, not the real deal, no. All right, next up. You got that correct. Good job. Are you 2 for 2?
I think so.
Did you call Gates? There's no proof that he's a pedophile.
You called him, and then I just agreed.
Pedophile. Is that the one where you're fucking 15-year-olds on Epstein Island? Next up, this man's career began as a NYPD police officer in his early days.
Already not looking good.
Boys in blue, baby. He once took a photo with Rudy Giuliani. Pretty impressive. He believes the 2020 election was stolen from former President Donald J. Trump. As many people do.
As many people.
Yeah.
I hear
There's a lot of fraud out there these days. Election fraud.
Never be too careful.
I heard illegals are voting now.
I listened to the Mike Lindell interview on David Pakman the other day, and it was eye-opening.
He earned the NYPD Medal of Valor for his involvement in a gun battle where his partner was shot and wounded. So, what do you think? There's a whole lot to go on here. You have a nice photo.
It is a nice photo. It looks like a nice house. I'm looking at that tile. That tile is not cheap ceramic tile. Like that's
really
an Italian granite or something. That's a higher dollar. Yeah.
It looks like a cop. Let me just say that.
Yeah, even the way that it's laid with the different orientations, all the bottles of wine in the background. Looks like he has a nice watch on.
Those are clues to his wealth. I don't know if that has anything to do.
He has a sword. That's a wall hanger, though. All right, yeah, he's definitely a pedophile.
Did you have a sword?
No, you can have a sword. I have a sword. That's a wall hanger. That is a non-functional sword.
How do you know? Maybe it's just
because I could tell by
nice sword on a mount.
No, the proportions of it. The proportions of it are completely off. It's not a replica of a real sword.
But what's the difference between a replica and a real sword? Just a piece of metal.
No, it's not a replica of a real sword. And that, like, the pommel and the crossguard are way too big and bulky. Like, a real sword would not have those proportions. The handle's too short.
You're saying it wouldn't be effective in the
apocalypse? It would not be effective. It would be way too bulky and unwieldy. You'd end up hitting your arms with the crossguard. Like a real sword would have a smaller, thinner crossguard, smaller pommel, a shorter crossguard too. Like, there's just a bunch of extra crap on there, and that's for almost exclusive. Like these are the types of guys. He's the wealthy end of this spectrum. The poor end of the spectrum is the greasy guy with a ponytail that has the Highlander katana hung up, in his basement apartment.
Yeah, that guy's awesome.
He's just that guy with money. And basement greasy guy, he watches the hentai porn that you were referencing earlier. This guy, he's able to get the real deal. Pedophile.
Unfortunately, Tony, you're incorrect. Wrong. He is not a pedophile. How dare you insult an officer that way? Damn. This gentleman is Bernard Carrick. He is quite famous. He was a former New York City police commissioner. He was discovered having 2 simultaneous affairs using an apartment at Ground Zero that was set aside for first responders to the World Trade Center attacks. So he made the news for that one. It didn't tarnish his record, though.
Yeah, I'm not hating that. I mean, I hate cops in general, but the idea of holding 2 simultaneous affairs and realistically, like, using the
first responder,
the first responder, like the benefits of your position. You hold this certain position in society.
Well, they're not responding if they're in the apartment. They're not using the apartment, one would think.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just the benefits of the job, right? Like, hey, I was an EMT in 1992, so somehow or another that means I'm a hero of 9/11, and we get free use of this apartment to bang prostitutes or whatever.
That's a pretty good pickup line. Like, I'll bang you at the Ground Zero.
Yeah, Ground Zero. Yeah, I lost a lot of brothers that day. I got a bit of the lung issue. Things I've seen, man.
Have you seen my Medal of Valor? sent Giuliani a plan to overturn the 2020 election. He had his own special plan. At some point, he wound up pleading guilty to 8 tax and fraud felonies, including taking $250,000 from an Israeli billionaire defense contractor while he was working as the Interior Minister of Iraq under Donald J. Trump. He served 3 years in a minimum security prison in Cumberland, Maryland, before being pardoned by Donald Trump. He also famously had a daughter while he was working in South Korea as AMP, military police, whom he thereby abandoned and came back to the U.S., only later to learn that the mother and daughter had immigrated to the U.S., and they saw him on TV.
Oh.
So they followed him back.
Do anything you can to get out of child support.
This guy is a real piece of work, man. Bernard Carrick. 2 for 1. Look at this guy.
Oh, my goodness.
We don't know where this is going, don't we?
Oh, I think so.
So this gentleman was just recently arrested, October 5th. So this is about roughly a week and a half ago. He is 45 years of age. He has struggled his entire life to live up to his mother's expectations due to his substance abuse issues. And he enjoys spending time with his family out on the back porch of their country estate. Is this gentleman a pedophile? The photo. That's pretty big.
No, I don't think he is. This looks
Really?
like any. I mean, you go out to the western part of Meade County, go out to Battletown. He'd fit right in anywhere around here, really.
Battletown.
Yeah, I'm sure some spots around here. He looks like a well-respected gentleman. He probably works at a factory somewhere. Makes $25 an hour.
Yeah.
He's got 3 kids by 2 different moms. He mostly pays his child support, and he likes a little methamphetamine on the weekend. Certainly likes a bit of weed. Aged him a little bit. He looks like he's probably in his early mid-50s, but 45.
He looks like 70% on the way to Crypt Keeper.
Unkempt. Probably use a haircut. Hair's a little greasy. They must have caught him on day 2 of a meth binge. I'm just going to say this is just a public masturbation charge.
Public masturbation.
Yeah, maybe there were some kids nearby, and they're trying to give him a bad rap.
Should that be a crime? I mean...
No, the kids should have fucking left. Quit watching me.
Yeah.
Kids. The mother's expectation was that he just, same shit all moms want. Get married. Go get a better job. Fuck you, Mom. It's hard out here. And the country estate, it's a trailer. And
if I want a huff duster, leave me the fuck alone.
Exactly.
Let me huff.
Jesus, this is my life, Mom. Leave me alone. And, he hangs out on the back porch where he huffs his duster, smokes his meth at the trailer park in Battletown, Kentucky.
Pretty close, man. So you said no. He is not, in fact, a pedophile. He was not arrested on those charges, although, who knows? We never know what's inside the mind of gentlemen such as this. His name is Carmen Martin. I'm going to read the article detailing the details of this man's arrest. Okay, here's the photo of the 3 of them arrested on this charge.
Dear Lord.
Brandenburg, Kentucky.
Oh, no shit.
3 people have been arrested after the body of a woman who overdosed inside a home was found next to the trash. Roy D. Beam, 78, Carmen Matthew Martin, 45, who we just saw a photo of, and Stacy Carpenter, 31, all of Brandenburg, being held in Meade County detention. Each is charged with abuse of a corpse, possession of a controlled substance, and possession of paraphernalia. Arrest reports state that on October 2nd, the victim, Linda Byerly, overdosed inside Beam's home in the 1000 block of Johnny Pack Road after using fentanyl. The trio tried to resuscitate Byerly, but decided that she had died. Authorities say once it was decided Byerly was beyond help, they took her body from the house, placed it in a chair on the back porch next to piles of trash. The reports say Beam was Byerly's boyfriend and Carpenter was her daughter. Martin is listed as the boyfriend of Carpenter. It also says Carpenter had used fentanyl with her mother that day. They are being held on $5,000 cash bond on charges of abusing a body, essentially. So the mother died of fentanyl overdose, and they put her body by the trash on the back porch on the rocker.
I guess there is a reason that guy looked familiar. It may be the color scheme of the jail in the background.
Maybe that's it. You recognize the jail.
Like that color gray with the painted over
could
windows.
Just be that everybody looks the same out there. I don't know.
It could be. There's a number of things that could have tipped me off on that one.
Environmental factors, that play into your appearance.
Yeah, I don't know. What else do you do? They understand medicine. I'm sure this guy went to at least some medical school.
What about the vending machine, man?
It was empty. And they want you to put in your social security number.
Maybe get the Narcan first and then...
Definitely. Yeah, you can't go get the Narcan as you're overdosing.
My question is, what do they think was going to happen?
I don't know. I mean, did they just like set her out there? Did they try to conceal her? Get like a really big trash bag?
They didn't try to dispose of the body.
Well, see, out there now, they have just the automated trucks that come out. So they don't have to pick it up. You just get the can, set it out there by the road, and the truck picks it up and empties it.
Yeah. If you have the right kind of can, though.
Yeah, they mandate that
cans.
kind. They mandate it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you got to have that kind of can. It's part of the service that they have.
Interesting.
So, they go by, they dump a bunch of those. They don't know that it weighs a lot more. And then they get back to the shop, and who's to say where you picked it up?
She walked off.
It's a pretty good idea. Or, hey,
what happened to her?
Somebody, I don't know who, put this woman in the trash. Probably not the place that she lives with all the people fucking zonked out from...
This is a great story. I love this story. Dude.
Yeah, I don't know how they expected this to go.
What were they thinking, man? Who's masterminding this fucking outfit?
Look,
question, maybe they just put her out there like 5 minutes ago. I mean, how long does a body sit there before it's a crime?
Yeah, I don't know.
You have to use all the fentanyl before the cops get there.
Yeah. I wonder what the limit is. Like, if I find a dead body at my house, if I wait 3 minutes, that's fine. That's
totally reasonable. Yeah, no.
If I wait 30 minutes, that's probably okay. If I'm freaking out, I don't know what to do. At what point, if I waited 3 days, now that's abuse of a corpse. How much semen do they have to find in the corpse before I get charged?
Why can't you just have a corpse? What's the problem?
Who's the victim here, really?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man.
Point to the aggrieved party.
I think they're the victims in this. This is overreach of the big government, man.
Yeah, Jesus. Look, they're not bothering anybody. They're hanging out there snorting fake Roxys and just trying to get a good nap.
All right, you are 3 for 1. You were correct again. Next up, very attractive man. He has developed a bald spot in the top of his head, but has made the bold choice to keep the bangs. This gentleman has had a very successful career as a medical professional. He grew up in Philadelphia before moving to Delaware to practice medicine. He is known as an eccentric who famously decorates his vehicles to resemble bumblebees with black and yellow stripes, and he always kept a suit of armor on his front porch. Is he a pedophile?
I'm looking right now. He's certainly remember who John LaJoie was? He's a real big, very early YouTube, like mid-2000s YouTube. And he would do all these like funny songs, little skits and stuff like that. Anyways, one of his more famous songs was Pedophile Beard and Rapist Glasses. And
what the fuck?
So that song is kind of coming to mind as I look at this gentleman.
Well, he's overweight. I wouldn't expect a pedophile to be overweight typically.
I don't know.
Those kids have a lot of energy to run after him.
He actually looks like Scott's brother quite a bit.
Oh,
he's certainly an eccentric, painting his vehicle to look like a bumblebee.
Very eccentric.
And what was the last thing? Suit of armor.
Keeps a suit of armor on his front porch. Something I would do maybe if I had a suit of armor.
No, I think this all just yell. It's too loud. I feel like a pedophile is going to at least try to keep a low profile. It's not going to try to project themselves out there for everyone to notice them and everyone to see them. He probably looked like this in freshman year of high school. Fat, scraggly beard, awful hair, no sense of style. And now he's got older. Maybe he's got a little bit of money. Actually, based on the look of the siding on the house behind him, I'm going to say no. He makes decent money now. He's divorced. Didn't have any kids, so he's got a lot of extra money to play with, and he just likes to do stuff that's fun.
Who combs their hair after they're divorced?
Yeah, there's nothing weird about a 37-year-old man spending a bunch of money on magic cards or a suit of armor to set on his front porch. I think people are just picking on him. There's people that have repressed childhood desires, and not for dating other children. Childhood desires to love of bumblebees and armor, and they're angry, and they project their anger and frustration out on guys like this who are just living their life and being the best that they can be. So no, he's a good guy. I like him.
That's a good point. Because somebody's eccentric, don't just call him a pedophile.
Yeah, exactly.
Let people be themselves.
Exactly. Unless they want to have sex with children. Then you can't be yourself.
That's not great. This gentleman's name is Earl Brian Bradley.
Of course it's Earl.
Yes, he is a pedophile, of course, obviously. His name is Earl Brian Bradley. In addition to the bumblebees and the armor, his pediatric practice boasted a small movie theater playing Disney films, as well as small carnival rides.
Oh, Jesus.
Earl Brian Bradley is known as the worst pedophile in history.
He's like the Alabama Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
He's got like all the little games and rides and shit for kids.
Yeah, if you see someone that has a yard full of children's rides and
come on over,
they
kids.
have no children of their own.
You want to play on the little roller coaster?
Raises a few eyebrows. He was indicted in 2010 on 471 separate child sex crimes. The accounts are very horrific. He recorded videos of his crimes, which the police found in his home. Delaware Attorney General Beau Biden, son of President Joe Biden, announced in a January 2010 speech that he would not seek election to his father's former seat in the U.S. Senate because he was currently prosecuting this gentleman, and he felt it was more important to pursue this guy. He died in prison on August 23rd, 2022, so he will no longer be a menace to the world. Earl Brian Bradley.
Jesus.
Fucking monster. Pediatric medicine doctor.
I'm assuming like using his position as a pediatrician.
What's always crazy about these is when these wealthy guys do this shit, they get away with it so long. In the accounts, there was one kid who ran out like with his pants off screaming, and Brian Bradley was chasing him around. There was investigations into why this went on so long.
I think in the eyes of a lot of people, and certainly like society here in America, people equate financial success with respectability. Like you were saying, if something like that happened with a poor person, like because they're poor, there's like a certain level of deviousness that's attributed to them. Maybe you're not going to give them the same benefit of the doubt that you would a really rich guy. If it's a rich doctor and he's doing weird, like he's a doctor, he's not a pedophile, he's not a ne'er-do-well.
Is it that, or is it like the Michael Jackson thing, where yes, he's a pedophile, yes, he molested kids, but he's a really good singer, so he's rich, so he's better than us, he gets a pass?
I don't know. I tend to lean towards people don't. At least that's how I would probably look at it. Be like, oh, well, you can't be a pedophile and get this far in life. You can't be a pedophile and become a well-respected pediatrician. Like somehow or another, that would have gotten weeded out at some point. It doesn't make any sense, but like that would be my kind of default. And I think a lot of other people might think like that too. Now, I don't think the not caring about it level of wealth, that happens much higher. Like you get to that mid-level wealth where you're a successful doctor, and it's like, oh, well, he's not doing that. But you get up to like
Elon Musk like raping masseuses.
Yeah. Then they're just
he's the richest man in the fucking world. He does what he wants. Shut the fuck up, bitch.
Yeah.
Get in there and give him a massage. All right. Red flags. We're looking for red flags here. Are these people pedophiles? You tell me what you think. See if these guys are pedophiles. This is not a guessing game. You're going to know these individuals. All right. Notice anything odd about this gentleman? This is Mr. Matthew Gates, of course, under investigation for pedophilia, child sex trafficking charges, but one of the girls was underage.
Red flag number one, students for Trump cannot be a real thing. The idea of higher learning and
with enough money, it can.
A clown like him is it's just.
Now let me ask you a question.
They're opposites.
If in school, if someone had offered you $10,000 to push this or a fake organization, Students for Trump, at Meade County High, wear the pin, stump for Trump.
Oh yeah,
of course.
Yeah, of course I would.
Of course, dude.
I would have bought so many magic cards.
Yeah.
Dude, I'd be a millionaire today if all those Urza Saga block cards that I would have bought, so many of them just exploded in.
Really?
Yeah, I would have bought like a real sword. I definitely would have bought a real sword. I also would have.
I like how that's your mark of success. How good is the sword you have?
I remember we went to.
That's a wall hanger there, buddy.
Yeah, I don't want no bullshit wall hangers. I want a fully functional sword, carbon steel blade, real wrap. Yeah, that's
full tang, right?
Oh yeah,
is that a thing?
Full tang. There's not. If it's not full tang, it's not. It's a wall hanger.
Yeah,
it's not functional.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so aside from that, Students for Trump, which is obviously made up. He's got the Hitler Youth haircut.
Well, that's not a red flag of pedophilia, though.
Oh, it's a red flag for some sort of sex crime, whether it be date rape, pedophilia, or spousal abuse.
Yeah,
it's one of those. Hang on, the fingers, his 2 to 4D ratio.
There we go. Now you can see
his 2 to 4D ratio is off.
Got it.
He had too much estrogen in the womb.
Yep. Now he likes children.
He looks almost like he's got the symmetrical face, big square jaw. He looks like he was bred to be for politics, which I think just entails a
lack of moral character.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's kind of like, how JFK was bred by his dad to be a politician. And then you like watch that Marilyn Monroe and see how those monsters treated her.
I mean, every politician is a soulless fucking evil villain, but Matt Gaetz really pushes the limits of how bad of a person you can be and still be elected. Yeah.
and still have popular support like right now.
Oh, yeah.
Like still people love him right now. Maybe not slightly as many.
Some people, yeah. Human beings. All right. First black president is up next. Mr. Bill Clinton, looking pretty swagalicious in his old age, to be honest.
He's definitely lost some weight since he was president.
Oh, yeah.
Face is really slimmed up.
Yeah, he's like a flying squirrel now.
Yeah. First off, the hairline. I don't believe that. I think he's had some hair plugs.
Oh, yeah, of course.
He's had something going on. Because that's almost like a prepubescent hairline where it's like down here. It's almost like it sits as low as like a baseball cap.
It's way better than my hair. Very nice.
First off, people that are that worried about their hair, I'm always distrustful of somebody that's. I got over that when I was like 17, caring about it. I don't know I can't quite tell what the 2D4 ratio is.
Bill Clinton is also left-handed, famously.
Is he left-handed?
High 2D40 ratio, and he's left-handed, and he's flown on Jeffrey Epstein's plane a million times.
And his nose, the tip of his nose, looks like the tip of a penis.
Yeah.
A little bit.
He's fucked somebody with that nose, for sure.
Oh, dirty old bastard.
Also Hillary, looking like...
looking like she just walked off the set of Hocus Pocus.
Oh, my goodness. She looks like she was just birthed out of, like, some fucking demon spawn.
The Uruk-hai.
And she just emerged looking like that.
Whom do you serve? The Clinton Foundation.
Again, with the high 2D40 ratio. Next up, bam.
Nope. I will not believe it.
We have some red flags here. Very short individual is this next gentleman, Danny DeVito. His ring finger is looking very long here. Much longer than his index finger. Very suspicious. You got the glasses going on that you already mentioned.
Yeah. No, his hands, I'm not even about his hands look more like chimpanzee hands than anything. Like he's got the elongated palm, these like little sausage fingers just sticking out the ends. I think it's part of his deformity. He's like less than 5 foot tall, I believe.
4'11".
4'11".
Danny DeVito. He has a disability.
No, he's the beloved short curmudgeon of America. I watched Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
So you're giving him a pass just because he's funny.
Yeah, because he's wealthy, so you get a pass, which is what we were talking about, right? I really liked him in Always Sunny, and that's all I need, really.
All right, I'm on board only because it's Danny DeVito. He's the only one that gets a pass. Stay away from my kids, Danny.
And just don't go crazy with it. 2 a year, no more.
Yeah.
And you can't harm them permanently.
Next up, somewhat unknown fellow here. This is Larry Sanders, brother of Bernie Sanders. That's not who we're really here to talk about, of course. There he is. Now, nobody would ever suspect. Fucking soldier of the left.
Yeah.
Open socialist. Longest serving independent senator. Mr. Bernie Sanders.
I'm in a bit of a quandary, a bit of confusion right now. So with the pediatrician fellow, I was trying to make the argument, and I was of the assumption that one that partakes in the illicit pleasures of child pornography and pedophilia would try to stay out of the public eye and be quiet and not try to draw attention to themselves.
One would think, yeah.
Would lead a quiet existence. But I was wrong on that. And so, I mean, that was my initial inclination with Bernie. Is like, surely he's not going to be out there arguing for Medicare for all and, sticking his fingers in little boys.
It's the voyeurism. It's the risk of getting caught is what turns him on.
Maybe. Yeah. And it just, how much more pleasure would you get if you're out there every day and you're moralizing and you're telling people that they're wrong and they have moral issues? The Republicans are bad people because X, Y, and Z. And the whole time I've got little Jimmy and little Kelly locked up in a basement in my summer house.
How many little kids is Medicare for all worth?
That's a good question.
Sam Harris, we need to get him on this one.
That's a good question. This might actually tie a lot into the segment that I'm going to be doing later.
That's what the mittens were for, to keep his hands off of all the kids.
Yeah, to keep the stink on his fingers so he can smell it.
Oh, God. Oh, fuck.
He's sitting there listening to Trump just, oh, Sally.
This podcast is taking a turn.
Anyways.
Anyway, it's a high 2D40 ratio. He has the brother. He's 6 foot tall lying down. So that's being short is the red flag, remember.
But just because he's got an erection from looking at child porn.
Well, that's only lying down. When he stands up, he's 4'11 because he hunches so much. So, all right. Last one here. Mr. David Pakman, already mentioned once on the podcast today.
It's your night, buddy.
YouTube sensation, Twitch sensation, frequent right-wing guest haver, surprisingly enough.
And
famously had Jesse Lee Peterson.
Friend of Mike Lindell.
Yeah, good friend. Has had him on the podcast several times, I believe.
He called him Mike Pillow to his face several times.
Yeah, or simply Pillow.
Pillow,
Yeah.
Yeah, Pac-Man, I never trusted this guy.
Yeah.
There's something up. The yellow shirt, first off, I'm not liking it. I'm not a fashion guy, but unless you're Dwight Schrute from The Office, you shouldn't be wearing yellow shirts. Again, with the Matt Gaetz Hitler Youth haircut.
Yeah.
And just the look, his eyes are so close together, he could wear a monocle. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it.
Yeah.
And he's a liberal too, right?
Ugh. What sort of person is a fucking 10-year-old is interested in business?
Yeah. And he seems so well put together. Like, you listen to him, he speaks very articulately, whether you agree with what he's saying. Like,
he's a useful capitalist.
He's put a lot of thought into what he says.
Sure.
It's like a Gus Fring from Breaking Bad. Actually, Gus Fring would wear yellow shirts too. Where you have to put on this facade, tidy, well-composed, upstanding person. You put that out there to the world so that it hides all the evil that you do in the background.
Sure.
Distributing methamphetamine, or in Pac-Man's case, I don't even want to talk about it.
International conspiracy
And
to run the banks or whatever.
Child sex tourism.
Exactly.
In Southeast Asia.
Yeah. He does a good job hiding his hands. There's very few photos of his hands. So you'll see the high 2D40 ratio here, obviously.
And we know why he hides his hands, because he doesn't want us analyzing the 2D40 ratio.
Of course, yeah. He's definitely aware.
He knows about this.
He's aware. Yes. He's a smart guy, as we've established. He has a brother that he's only mentioned once that I could find in all of the internet.
I wouldn't either if I was up to what he's up to.
And he's 5'8". He's shorter than me.
Really?
Embarrassing.
5'8". Yeah, I would have thought he would have been like close to 6 foot.
All right. Last one. I have a very suspicious photo here, Tony. I drug this out of the archives of the podcast. Very suspicious.
Oh, no.
What the fuck is this? I didn't believe this when I saw it, but
oh my goodness.
I am very surprised, Tony.
I got a
Look
weird
at this
ratio
finger,
going on.
man. What happened?
I got some weird ratios, buddy.
The most pedophile I've ever seen. Look at this 2D40 ratio here.
Yeah, and why is the middle finger shortest of all?
The index finger is longer than the middle finger.
And the pinky finger is just, I don't know, just hanging out somewhere else. He's not even part of that party.
Wow. I'm disgusted. But
yeah. Once again, red flags abound.
Handsome fellow. Hands are a little sus.
Weird pink shirt with a jiu-jitsu gi.
I don't think that's a red flag.
Maybe not. That could be the good type of eccentricity.
Yeah. The
hand thing is certainly a bit concerning. And if you look close enough, you notice the fingernails are pretty disgusting. Pretty dirty.
So we mentioned it briefly, but I do want to talk about why this is important. It's been a hell of a night, folks.
We've spent 2 hours talking about pedophiles.
So how does this happen? How do these guys get away with this shit? Why are there so many rich pedophiles out in the open, apparently?
Well, we learned early that 1 to 5% of the population, most people have to suppress that urge, that desire. They don't have access to it. Certainly if they do have access to it, it's like niece or little kid next door, and there's a high probability of getting caught. So they just deal with the disappointment. But if you're wealthy, you can make all your wildest dreams come true.
Yeah.
There's somebody, you got enough money, there's somebody that's going to make sure you've got it and make sure it's done well enough to where you can hide it. You want to smoke crack in a float tank? Have at it, Hoss. We're going to make it work for you. You want to have a fresh supply
private island with
of 13-year-old girls thrown into your room like that woman was thrown into the Conan's cage. You can just, good to go. You can make it work. Somebody will figure it out for you.
This has been talked about a little bit. Like the reason capitalism, it accentuates these issues because 1 to 5% of the population is pedophiles. But if that happens to line up with the 1% of the population who are fucking billionaires, then you have a problem.
Oh, so you're thinking there's some sort of overlap, but like the psychology that would drive someone to accumulate that sort of wealth.
No, it's not the psychology. It's just the logistics of it. Statistically, the existence of billionaires with that much power.
You're thinking, but are you saying that of the billionaires, 1 to 5% of them, that they are representative of the population? That there's just 1 to 5% of them that are pedophiles? Or do you think that whatever selects for being a pedophile also maybe selects for being a billionaire? so that maybe like 10 or 20% of billionaires are also pedophiles.
No, I'm not making that connection. Maybe there's a connection to be made there, but I'm just commenting on the fact that when there are billionaires in society, problems like this are vastly worse than they should be because they have so much power. They can get away with fucking whatever they want to get away with. They can fly to fucking Thailand and rape kids if they want to. Who knows how many get away with this shit? You know what I mean?
So we can't have anybody to look up to because James is worried that some people will have too much fun.
Yeah, the American dream.
Called sour
right?
grapes.
Yeah. Really, I hate America. I think that's...
I did notice you had a surprisingly large number of dead bald eagles here.
That's all I got, man. You can have it.
Okay. So on the subject of pedophilia, child pornography, there was a friend of mine, ours, Corey, and I come up with this one night while we were drinking. And Corey came up with a very elegant solution to it. So the issue goes, all right.
You booby-trap the kids.
Booby-trap the kids. Now,
yes.
As we know, everybody at some point in time, you masturbate thinking about previous sexual partners, right?
Sure.
Yeah. You know, you got an ex-girlfriend, whatever, you rub one off thinking about it. So if you had sex at a young enough age, maybe you had sex with a 15-year-old. When I was in high school, I had sex with a 15-year-old. You know, I was a year older than her, so it was all cool at the time.
Sure.
So is it potentially pedophilic? I don't know if that's a word. To jerk off, if me as a 37-year-old man to jerk off thinking about the 15-year-old that I did have sex with.
So is it a thought crime? Should it be a thought crime? Is that your question? What's the question?
The question is it a thought crime? Is it a sign that anybody, not me, anybody has some inner pedophile desires that they are jerking off while thinking about having intercourse with somebody that was underage?
Think so.
You don't think so?
No.
You don't think it would be weird for let's say a 50-year-old man, and he had sex. The first time he had sex, he was 15, she was 14. He's jerking off thinking about this 14-year-old's body that he was having sex with.
Well,
you don't think there's a problem with that?
There's a connection still between the 50-year-old and the girl, except the girl's like 52 at this point. She's not a child anymore.
Yeah, but you're not thinking about 50-year-old her. You're thinking about 14-year-old her. You as a 50-year-old man, okay. I mean, if you think it's all fine and dandy, that's your decision. But it seems seems a bit off for a 50-year-old man in any context to be thinking about intercourse and pleasuring himself, bringing himself to climax over the image of a 14-year-old girl.
For a long time, I've been a proponent of relaxing the age of consent laws. I think they're pretty strict, man. 18 is pretty old. You could go die for your country at 18.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, these women, they grow up fast.
They do grow up a lot faster. That's what I hear. That's what all the old guys...
The hormones in the chicken. A 14-year-old today is like an 18-year-old 20 years ago.
All right. So you want to know what Corey's solution was?
What?
Depends on how old you are in the recreation of the event. So if you're thinking about you as a 50-year-old having sex with the 14-year-old, that's fucked up. But if you're reliving that when you're a 15-year-old and she's 14, that's okay. I thought that was a very elegant solution to the problem.
Yeah, but
because you're reliving. You're not.
I'm trying to remember if there's anything about like my age or like how wrinkly I am in my fantasies. I don't think there is. I don't think it's like that, man. I think there's a psychic connection between you and the person you fucked. It persists throughout time and space, man. She's of age. I mean, she's your age. She's 50. No thought. That's not a thought crime.
Okay.
I wouldn't put you in thought jail.
We were worried about it.
Yeah. It's a good solution. Yeah, I like that.
We didn't know what it classified as. Yeah. Shout out to Corey.
Yeah, if you're fantasizing yourself as an old fuccking man.
Yeah, see, that would be weird. Like I'm 70, I'm all wrinkly.
Looking at your hand.
And I'm in my head, I see my wrinkly ass having sex with this 15-year-old. That would be...
You like slowly walk up to her with your fucking cane.
Got some money.
Oh, my oxygen.
I won't need it for much longer. I'm almost dead.
Do you want a Werther's?
What about a Fig Newton? Okay, so James, you may have heard of this story. The other day, there was a couple young women participating in a protest in UK, and they threw cans of tomato soup on Van Gogh's sunflowers.
Very interesting. Probably not something that whether other underground people would approve of. This is the sort of eco-terrorism that really makes much sense, in my opinion.
Yeah. There's obviously been a lot of discussion about it recently, whether this was the right way to go about it, whether it was garnering the attention that they got? Was it worth, potentially destroying such a valuable relic of the past? Obviously, Van Gogh, he's a very famous, very well known, very well respected artist. I'm not a big art guy, but I've always really loved Van Gogh's stuff. Sunflowers, his self-portrait, the countryside images like Starry Night. Really liked him in Doctor Who. A bunch of great stuff over the years.
He's a little hipster these days.
A little bit, but it's well deserved. It's well earned.
What's your favorite painting? Starry Night. Yeah, okay, buddy.
Yeah, it's a good one. I like Sunflowers, and I don't like a lot of his just random like shit on a table. One with just some other flowers, random like knickknacks and shit that he would paint. It's cool. I like Starry Night too.
I like his early stuff when it looked like his realistic looking paintings. He's actually was a really good artist. You can't tell just from his like impressionistic.
I don't know.
Work.
Yeah, I guess it is impressionism. I don't know. I think the impressionism really evokes a feeling more than represents the image.
That's the idea of it.
Yeah, like I said.
So do you buy that though? Is the real question. I don't know.
I buy it.
Okay.
I don't know though. I mean, he lived in the Netherlands. This was during the.
Is he as good as Hunter Biden is?
That was. I don't know about that. I mean, this was the Netherlands at the time was a big hub for opium coming into Europe. Hopefully he was just having a good time. Maybe he just got a little slower. Early on he didn't have access to like good opium coming in, and later he had it. And that's why he was just like doing fucked up paintings of flowers.
Could be projecting. I don't know.
Could be. Anyways, thankfully the painting was fine. Initially, that was kind of my reaction. It was like I was pretty upset about it. Put a lot of stock into these cultural artifacts. I think they really need to be protected. Then I found out like there's 5 versions of it actually. He painted the same thing 5 different times. So at the very least there were 4 other. But thankfully the painting was not harmed. I guess they put like a protective layer over it. So the only thing it potentially screwed up was the frame.
It turns out there was a pane of glass over it. It's unclear if the girls knew there was a pane of glass though.
Yeah, well, that's the argument that they're making in court, is that they knew that it wouldn't damage the painting. So don't hold us in jail. But I think they're currently only charged with like a minor vandalism. It's like less than 5,000 pounds, I believe is what it was. But yeah, it does raise a question. So is this an acceptable act of violence? Now, I'm not sure how you would classify it. Maybe like violence against culture.
Well, I don't classify property destruction as violence. I don't think that's a useful definition of violence. So
these are the girls performing the act. Yeah, so they throw the tomato soup on there, and then they come and super glue their hands to the wall, part of an anti-oil protest that they're partaking in. As you can see, these young ladies look like they just walked out of Ben Shapiro's Nightmare. They've got the hair, they got the look, and
very young.
A little bit too opinionated, too.
Quite young.
Yeah, I think 20 and 21.
Interesting.
So I was also kind of amused that, something like this would work in the UK, where you could just glue your hand to the wall. Whereas like in the US, we would have different ways of dealing with something like this.
Well, I don't know if it's the same activist group, but there was another larger group that were super gluing their hands to different weird shit in UK not that long ago.
Like, what's the point? Like, you can just rip your hand off. I mean, not your hand, but like your hand will come off. It'd just be like slightly difficult.
Well, it'll remove some skin, man.
Yeah, cops don't. I don't know. I'm just thinking like
this is the UK,
like,
dude.
Yeah,
they're gonna be nicer.
That's where I'm messing up.
They'd be shot and killed in the US.
Yeah. Well, so I was thinking about that.
I don't know
as I was preparing this segment, and then I knew how we here in the US would deal with it.
That's art, though. That's like the cops are. They don't care about it. I mean, they're conservatives. So the cops are.
Oh, they would love to beat the shit out of a young girl with pink hair.
Yeah, sure.
Like that's what they jerk off at night.
Yeah.
They just some fucking young hippies beat the shit out of.
Handcuff that bitch.
Anyways, so yeah, this is what they would do here in the U.S.
First APC will approach from the south. The second APC will approach from the north.
We're in. This is the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. We have a search warrant. If you are in the residence, make your way to the front door. Do it now.
We hope to take the suspect and anybody else who is inside the house by surprise. That's our guy. We were able to catch our suspect by surprise without anybody getting hurt.
I can't, dude. What the fuck?
So anyways, yeah, this is how we handle it here in the U.S. We have Steven Seagal driving MRAP into your house.
Yeah.
initially. I was trying to find it. Apparently it's not on YouTube, but there was an episode of Steven Seagal Lawman where he personally drives an MRAP into somebody's front door, like destroys their house and kills their dog. It's like a perfect encapsulation of American police brutality.
And bowling, that's a strike.
But yeah, and the guy had a cockfighting ring, so he might have had like a joint in his house, so it really was justified.
Yeah.
So yeah, what is your view on acts like this, on destruction of not just property, not just like throwing a brick through a McDonald's window, but destruction of property that has value to kind of everybody, has some cultural significance. And obviously, like, it didn't happen in this case, but there have been instances like that where people destroy something of real importance. There was a guy a couple of weeks ago that destroyed a couple 2,000-year-old busts of statues in Vatican City because he was, something had upset him.
The eco-terrorism that is awesome. Just in general, I think the idea is to destroy equipment like pipelines or oil refining rigs, things that are directly a part of the process of destroying the fucking planet. You want to target the capitalist companies that are doing the bad thing. You don't target a painting. But these women are young. They're in their early 20s. In fact, I don't feel bad in this case. I think they have a really good point. If they want to have a world to live in, fuck the bullshit that these old fucks care about, like these dumbass Van Gogh painting. I think this is, in a situation like the climate crisis we're facing, I think every stop has to be pulled at this point. I think anything that anybody can do.
Yeah, and to be clear, because I don't think I've really clarified earlier, so they're part of this organization, Just Stop Oil. It's in the UK. They are trying to get government of Britain to put an end to all future licensing for offshore drilling and to make radical changes in fossil fuel consumption of the country. Certainly a noble cause.
Will have very little impact globally, though, even if they're successful. That's the frustrating thing, man.
I don't really know. Like how I feel about that method of going about it. I mean, certainly, realistically, if society falls apart because the oceans rise and flood every port city in the world, Van Gogh doesn't matter.
Art is really a luxury of a stable society.
Yeah, and we're quickly approaching a very unstable society. Anyways, so reading this story, it reminded me of something else that's kind of in the same vein. So we'll go into that real quick.
The international capitalist order is on a runaway mission to fucking annihilate the planet. It's pretty scary, dude. And if Britain did something like try to nationalize oil, that what needs to be done, there would be hell to pay.
And it's not even really like
people would just import oil other places. Thanks to globalization, it doesn't matter what one country does.
And it's not even like nationalized. I mean, that needs to be done, but it's really just
that's the only way to shut it down. That's the only way to shut it down. What else? I mean, you can't. What are you going to do? The government has to buy the shares.
I mean, I guess the capitalist solution is make green energy so efficient and cost effective that it just pushes fossil fuels out of the market, right? But of course, that's not going to be done without an incredible amount of government money flowing into making these technologies get to the point where they are going to be cheaper. But yeah, so this reminded me of this.
The U.S. is now guarding the entrance to Iraq's National Museum.
Events that unfolded here may never have happened.
The U.S. is now guarding the entrance to Iraq's National Museum. But the damage has already been done.
Televised scenes of the empty museum and the grief of the museum staff became a symbol of America's failure to protect the country it had occupied. Reports had as many as 170,000 artifacts stolen. The Americans are now stressing that the damage is not as bad as first reported. Colonel Matthew Bogdanis is in charge of the investigation.
What we found, fortunately, that was a gross and perhaps irresponsible exaggeration on the part of those individuals making those reports. In fact, what we find are numbers significantly below that.
But the point of this video, this is in Iraq, there was a large amount of cultural damage done. Now, this is right after the U.S. had taken over Baghdad. They were occupying Baghdad, and the U.S. soldiers that were there that witnessed this happening were told that they were there to protect the people and not to protect the cultural artifacts. So my question in this particular instance is that more valuable? Are the handful of people alive in Baghdad during those weeks, were they more important for the U.S. soldiers to watch to make sure they were safe than these thousands of years of history that belong to the entire world? How many people are the tablet Gilgamesh worth?
That specific item, a lot.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. My initial thought when all that going on is
the Republicans.
I would rather they have protected the museums than they would the people at that point. If it had to be,
I remember reading stories in the Times about U.S. soldiers looting artifacts and selling them.
Yeah,
that's what I remember.
I'm sure they were. I'm just. If they were there,
I see what you're saying,
to actually help, and they were there, and it had to be one or the other. Which one would I rather them do? Now, I'm going.
They shouldn't have fucking been there, bro.
But they're there. They are there, and here we are. We're in this position. What do you watch out for?
Sophie's choice.
I'm going. Obviously, if it were my family, I would say different. But I'm going with the museums.
No, watch the people. The people are more important, man.
There'll be more people.
You can make more artifacts.
No, you can't. I like those.
How long are they going to last? Human existence is the blink of an eye. I mean, what is Neil deGrasse Tyson going to say about this one?
I don't know. I love history and I love artifacts.
Fair enough.
I watched Indiana Jones a lot as a kid.
Yeah.
So I feel like I have a calling.
Would you personally kill those people to save the tablet of Gilgamesh or whatever the fuck?
Maybe. Yeah. So we're kind of setting the stage for the game that we're going to be playing later. But yeah, there's one other story that I'd kind of thought of. So many people are aware of the incredible amount of cultural destruction that happened throughout Europe during World War II. I've got a personal connection to a little piece of that. My grandmother came from a town in Italy called Cassino. Like many places in Italy, the village of Cassino was, there was a pontifical abbey that sat on the hills outside this town. The town is like 2,000 years old. The abbey was built in like 1073 AD. So it's crazy old. In 1944, as the Allies were trying to push through the Gustav Line, take the Italian peninsula, they began heavy bombing campaigns across Italy, destroying untold, irreplaceable cultural relics, the Abbey of Monte Cassino being one of those places.
Well, I mean, the fucking Allies razed the entire country of Germany to the ground, as well as Japan. Something like 80% of all buildings were destroyed in fucking Japan during the Allied bombing.
Well, how old were they? Because that's what's going to tell me how much I care.
There's a lot of swords, man. I imagine katanas. Count those as swords.
So this is Monte Cassino today. This is the rebuilt version of it. This is what it looked like after the bombing. Yeah. And I'm kind of upset. And I'm thinking, could we have had maybe a few more Allied soldiers die and not blew up? Maybe just try a little harder, send some extra guys there to push through the Germans without fucking up all these beautiful abbeys. Is that not? Am I a monster for thinking this?
Well, I'm so anti-religion that these sort of artifacts don't really do much for me. It's like the whole Cultural Revolution thing in China. Like, they destroyed a bunch of Buddhas. Well, fuck off, Buddha. Who cares?
No, I'm the exact opposite. When the Taliban destroyed the Bamiyan Buddhas, these like ancient Buddhist, like 100-foot tall Buddhist statues in Afghanistan. I would have happily sacrificed 1,000 Afghan women for one of those Buddhas. I put, I guess, a lot of stock into the cultural significance of these artifacts. And
I mean, you wouldn't sacrifice your own daughter for the
not my own daughter. No. Everyone else's daughter.
Yes.
Anyways, we're going to play a game, James.
What?
Give you kind of the Sophie's choice, a would you rather, if you will. Art and cultural relics versus impacting people's lives. That's what we're going to be determining, which holds more value to you. Okay, so first off, what we were just talking about. We have, on one hand, all of Vincent van Gogh's work, the actual paintings. You've got Starry Night, his self-portrait, the potato eaters. I forgot about that one. Yeah, the sunflowers, the whole deal. Which is your favorite?
Starry Night.
Great song. Skull of a Skeleton. Look, that's so cool. He's smoking a cigarette. What a badass.
Yeah, that's pretty sick. I like the self-portrait too, actually.
Anyways, okay. So all of these paintings are going to be destroyed, actually destroyed, or all of Texas gets wiped out by a plague.
All of Texas?
All of Texas.
Is it communicable?
No, it's just Texas. There's like an electric dog fence. The virus cannot get past it. The border wall, as the Republicans complete the border wall, other people move in and they move it up around Texas.
The immigrants
completely circles
bring
Texas.
their fucking deadly plague with them across the border. Yeah.
And Biden got rid of the Title 42 deportations. And so that's what's going to happen. It's either the cure for the Mexican disease can be found in the paintings of Van Gogh's work.
Man.
You have to destroy them all.
Well, see, this one is interesting to me because you might think my first reaction would be, fuck Texas, who cares? They're all awful people. But I do know some good people from Texas, actually. I don't know why they live in Texas. Maybe they don't.
Joe Rogan?
No, not Joe Rogan or Elon Musk, no.
Oh, okay.
But Van Gogh, the originals, I don't care that much about, man. We have digital copies now. I can just print all the fucking Starry, Starry Nights I want to.
Okay.
I don't need the originals. I don't have any emotional connection to the original painted. It would be cool to see the brushwork. Maybe we can get 3D renders done of, like, so you can see the brush lines.
Okay. So we're going with paintings are available, at least in part, to everybody. I mean, there's a whole lot of people get to see them anyways. And, you know, the actual...
I don't even know where they're at, so...
We could take some really high-res photos of them.
Yeah.
To preserve them for posterity. Okay. All right. So there's one. Texas people, you lucked out this time.
Luckily, it wasn't up against something I care about.
Okay. The next one we have here, the handwritten manuscript of the Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx.
This is a thing?
This is a thing.
Awesome.
Apparently, it is almost completely illegible.
It had bad handwriting,
except for
as I recall.
One of the famous phrases is one of the few things that you can read, which is the proletarians have nothing to lose but their chains. They have a world to win. Working men of all countries, unite. Okay, so we either destroy this. This is going to go up in flames. It would be burnt. Scott uses it to roll a joint and smokes it.
Fuck that. Scott!
But
fuck.
You can save it by strangling your puppy in front of your children.
In front of the children?
In front of the kids.
That would be bad.
I mean, this is really important to all.
What would Karl Marx want me to do?
He's all about the good of the community, right?
Yeah.
But it's not the individual. You're not being an individualist, are you? You're like an emotional capitalist. You're keeping all your...
I'm only concerned with what I like.
Yeah. You're collecting and hoarding that emotional capital of love with your children.
Well, my only concern with destroying the manifesto, here's where my mind goes. Some future scenario where there's a revolution, but the revolution would never happen without this original manifesto being a rallying cry or some sort of...
Like the Emperor Justinian carried a piece of the true cross.
Yeah.
To conquer the barbarian lands. The proletarian armies of the future will carry the Communist Manifesto to give blessings of our Lord Karl Marx.
I feel like I could be dooming the future if I prevent this revolution. That's going to happen for sure.
How many people are going to die and suffer because the revolution doesn't happen versus your kids hate you?
Strangling the puppy. I don't like the puppy that much, dude.
Yeah, that's why I had to throw that in front of the kids, because I figured maybe you weren't too keen on the dog.
I don't like dogs that much, man. I didn't know this existed. This could be useful at some point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Next up, Che Guevara's hat and rifle that he used in war during the battle for Cuba. Okay, so yeah, this is obviously Che Guevara, famed revolutionary, most notable for being on posters in college dormitories. That's probably where you know him from.
That's where most Americans know him from, yes. T-shirts.
Left behind, he had this gaucho-style hat, kind of a cowboy hat, and his rifle, which were used, during his time, during the battle for Cuba, when he and Fidel Castro overthrew Batista and liberated the people of Cuba, who would forever after be happy. So, here's the predicament that we're in right now. Either this gun gets confiscated by Chuck Schumer to be thrown into a shredder.
God damn it, Chuck.
And the hat is given to George W. Bush for him to play cowboy with.
That is a fucking travesty right there.
But in exchange, Elon Musk gets permanently kicked off of Twitter and all his money confiscated and sent to improve schools in poor communities.
Oh my God. I know what Che would want. He would want, fuck the rifle, fuck the hat. That is capitalist bullshit. He don't care about material possessions, dude. He traveled to fucking 3 different countries to try to start revolutions. After he could have just practiced medicine and been a regular rich fuck. It's like Ingalls. Like, he was already rich. He died for what he believed, man. He would not care about the stupid hat. No. That's a double whammy. First of all, you're removing a billionaire from existence, a very dangerous one. Which
Elon Musk.
Either one.
Yeah. Well, Elon Musk has the Twitter presence, which I think is particularly insidious.
Okay.
So we're also removing that.
I wasn't too concerned with that part of it.
I was.
I was more concerned with the extreme wealth and power in the hands of one fucking idiot. But I think, yeah.
So you think, all right, well.
Not even close, man.
I'm going to throw an extra twist on there. George Bush hands out the money wearing the hat, and he gets the credit for it.
Oh, no.
And everybody looks at George Bush as being like, oh, I guess neoconservatism is what funds schools.
That's almost worse than the climate apocalypse, dude. That is awful. That is the worst. What would happen to Elon Musk if he found out that somebody had took all his money? I just want to see the look on his face, dude.
Listen, he made that money off the sweat of his brow. His incredible intelligence and his incredible work ethic. So I imagine if you took all his money away,
that's what most people.
He would just make it again in a few years because he just works a billion times harder than me.
You have accurately represented the mindset of Americans.
Yeah,
that must be in Havana, right? That is awesome. Because he died in Bolivia.
Yeah, so that's in Santa Clara.
I guess he could have changed hats and guns by then.
Next up, we have Miyoto Musashi's actual swords. Miyoto Musashi, famous samurai, traveled around Japan and fought, I believe it was like over 60 duels, undefeated, wrote the Book of Five Rings. Every 16-year-old boy wants to be this guy. I remember when I first found Book of Five Rings, and I read through it, and I was like, I'm a Zen Buddhist now, practice my katas with this, like a kendo sword. But anyways, beloved by nerdy kids everywhere. The predicament that we're in with this one, Miyamoto Musashi's real swords are given to my nephews to smack against trees and rocks until they're broken. But in exchange for that, you get to pick the next president among the Democratic primary candidates.
That's pretty good because that's a pretty shitty choice. They both are pretty light on the scale. Those are both pretty light on the scale, so that's pretty even.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Yeah, I don't like Japanese people after all the history I've read about Japan. I think those stories are probably all bullshit. He probably murdered a bunch of peasants.
Oh, he definitely murdered a bunch of peasants. How do you think he practiced for fighting the samurai?
Bring me another peasant, please.
But he was a badass.
Sure. Don't all the souls of the victims go in the sword, right? Is that how it works?
Maybe.
I don't know. I want to pick. I think fuck the swords. They're pretty cool, man. That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
The Book of Five Rings.
Like 500-year-old katanas that were used to kill people.
Yeah. A lot of people.
Yeah.
That is pretty awesome. But I think the power to pick the primary winner, well, that doesn't affect the outcome of the election, though, really.
No, you get to pick who becomes the president.
Okay.
From amongst the Democratic primary candidates. Or the Republican primary candidates. It's just primary candidates.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a pretty wide field, typically, especially with the DNC. I don't know. I think that the stakes are really high right now in politics, to be frank. I think we're approaching, 2050 is going to be bad. 2100 could be really fucking bad.
So you think, you don't have control over the policy. You think that just whichever candidate you pick, the amount of good that they will do is going to outweigh the cultural value of having these artifacts from feudal Japan?
Probably not. I just like to pick things. I just want to have the power. I don't think it'll matter.
Maybe you don't pick, and maybe you get the swords.
I think fucking Che Guevara could come back, put his hat on, and just get his fucking gun, and I would pick him as president, and it wouldn't make any difference.
Yeah, he would end up just deciding to run with Beto O'Rourke as like the vice president. Wouldn't that be disappointing? He's like, yeah, this is my guy.
I've had a lot of time to think about it. This whole socialism thing.
This is the direction we're going in. I think this is the real chance for revolution in our time.
I like what Kamala Harris has to say.
Obviously, there's no reason to introduce these. These are the Great Pyramids Khufu in Egypt. 3,300 years old, beautiful monolithic symbols of some of the first human civilizations to pull themselves up from their daily toil in the fields to build these beautiful monuments that would last through the ages. We have a problem, though. Trump has become president again, and he wants to nuke one of the Philippine Islands. The only way he won't do this is if we allow him to tear down pyramids so he can build a casino. This is the problem we're facing. And it's not a really small Philippine island. There's tens of thousands of Filipinos on there. Probably some indigenous peoples. Certainly no money. It's not a big city, but there's a bunch of small cities. We got maybe 50, 100,000 people on this island. And then no telling what the nuclear fallout will do.
Right.
All we have to do to appease the orange man is let him build another crappy casino, maybe sell some Trump steaks out of the remnants of what were the symbol of Egypt, ancient Egypt. It's one of the first things we learned about in history class. Pharaohs.
You're really raising the stakes here. This is one of the most important prehistoric artifacts.
Important for everybody, too. I mean, this is not like a Western civilization, Eastern. This is everybody's history.
The cradle of life, man. This is where it came from, right here. This was one of the coolest things ever, man. Stargate, shit.
Stargate.
And really, there's no telling whether or not the nuke will actually hit where they aim to hit with it. We're talking the U.S. military here. That's a lot of lives, too, that are going to die immediately. It's not like some future scenario.
Realistically, what were they contributing to society? I mean, here's the thing.
Adobo.
In 50 years, is it really going to matter about those people? These will be around in 1,000 years.
Yeah, I'm on board with you on this one, man. I like Filipino people, but the fucking pyramids, bro. There's really nothing, as far as cultural artifacts, is there anything more important than the pyramids? And as little as I care about this stuff, but still, the pyramids are pretty fucking awesome, man.
I just wanted to make sure you were on this spectrum somewhere. Like I said, I think I value these things probably more than you do, but I wanted to make sure you did have a heart. So
I don't even think we could recreate the pyramids.
Definitely not. What are you going to do? You're going to take pictures of them, show somebody a picture of it, do a 3D model and make one up there by the Creation Museum in Kentucky. Here's Noah's Ark, here's the pyramids. People would be saying that they weren't ever real to begin with. They're just made for this amusement park. Ancient Egypt never.
It'd be like existed. The moon landing.
Yeah, exactly. Like the brain worms that would start to spread just disinformation because these things no longer existed. It would be uncalculable how much damage it would do.
If aliens have been here in the past or are still currently here, then the pyramids are involved in their existence somehow. If we destroy the pyramids, it could start a chain reaction that obliterates Earth.
Yeah. Sooner or later, there's going to be a giant laser beam that's going to shoot out of the top of one of these pyramids.
Yeah.
When we're ready to join the Galactic Federation. And
we have to get all 5 elements together.
Okay. We're going to go to the last one now. This one might be pretty difficult for you, too. This might be the most difficult of them all.
We really raised to the stakes with the pyramid thing, I thought.
Here we go.
Oh, no, don't.
This is Noam Chomsky, noted linguist.
Noted, sir? Excuse me?
Noted, double noted. Very famous. He developed his own linguistic theories. I forget what they were
Natural
called.
language.
Okay. And I'm sure you know way more about it than I do. I know him as somebody that's written extensively and almost prophetically about the effects of media controlling the population. You introduce him.
Well, what Noam Chomsky figured out about linguistics was all human language stems from this sort of genetic super language. There's this sort of language we have that the language we speak develops out of. And that's why human syntax is similar.
Biologically ingrained language structure.
Yeah, we all have nouns and verbs.
Everything else developed from.
Right. And nobody had figured that out prior to Chomsky. His work in politics is extremely important. Of course, wrote Manufacturing Consent way back in the day. He was a Vietnam War activist. He's been an activist his whole life.
I was earlier today, I was watching his debate in 1970 with Foucault.
Yep, Foucault. Yep.
And
hard one to watch because
Foucault speaks French. I guess Chomsky understands French.
Yeah, he understands at least 3 or 4 languages.
Yeah, but I was watching it and I was like, oh yeah, of course he does. Of course he does.
Yeah.
He's Chomsky. But we've got a problem. Obviously, he's also an elderly man. He's up in his 90s now. He's 92, 93 years old. He has been kidnapped by Charlie Kirk.
That motherfucker.
Who plans on executing him at CPAC this year. Charlie Kirk, public execution. In exchange for doing this, for us allowing him to do this, he has promised to get the Exploding Star podcast channel 1 billion views. He calls in his fracking billionaire friends, and they figure out whatever the algorithm needs, and they just start burning our channel up. Our numbers just...
Oh, man. Well, what's the difference between a 90-year-old person and a dead person?
Not much.
Just relatively speaking.
That's what I was thinking about. obviously he's very old. He's got one foot in the grave at this point anyways.
He's not contributing much these days, is he?
His takes on Ukraine are a little weird, I don't think he's really getting the respect, and I don't want him to devolve in the eyes of the left to somebody that kind of went a little kooky in his older age. You want to preserve.
I've been thinking about this lately, yeah.
Yeah, you want to preserve the image of him. This is what Jordan Peterson talked about with symbols. You want to preserve the symbol that is Chomsky. And, I've always looked at Exploding Star as essentially the torch carriers for Chomsky. I'm sure he does too.
Right.
So, passing the torch maybe a couple years earlier than he expected. Obviously, if we had that sort of exposure, the amount of good that we could do.
But that'd be such a big win to hand to the fucking Charlie Kirk crowd.
It would probably, I'm just thinking of you could probably speak to this, all the semen that would have to be wiped up off the floors after the crowd left.
Yeah. That'd be like the Longshank supporters at the end of Braveheart, how they would feel.
These are the problems that have faced people, past, present, and future. And it's really good to think on these things and to prepare yourselves for when these types of questions do arise and these moral quandaries, and to really know where we stand. But yeah, on the Chomsky, I think Chomsky, he had a good run. I think we'll do him justice. Charlie Kirk, do what you need to. Get us our views. Anyways. Okay.
How are they going to execute him, I think, is the more important question. What are they going to do to him?
I don't know. It needs to be theatrical. No, nothing sexual.
All right.
You can't be shoving stuff up his ass.
No.
I won't do that. It needs to be like
lethal injection.
No. You have to. It has to be blades involved. Because you have to see if he screams.
Just for the dramatic.
Yeah, the drama. And he has to be a tragic martyr figure. Or they could do it like they did the guy in Iraq in 2000, Daniel Pearl.
Oh, yeah.
They have him in a cage and they throw gas on him, just light him on fire.
Oh, I don't. Yeah, I was thinking the one where they cut his head off with the machete.
Maybe that was Daniel Pearl.
Yeah.
There's a couple of them I get mixed up.
Well, that's not what would actually happen, though. To Chomsky. It'd be like, do you remember when Darth Vader fought Obi-Wan? And Darth Vader kills Obi-Wan, but Obi-Wan doesn't get hurt. He just disappears, goes into the Force.
His robes just fall down. I didn't think about that, and I believe you're right, and that really makes the choice a lot easier for me, too.
Do we need a constabulary, a force, a central force? In this case, it's America because it's a superpower, to sometimes use unjust means in the service of just causes.
What are the just causes? What was the just cause when we invaded South Vietnam 40 years ago, ending up killing millions of people, leaving the country devastated, they're still dying from chemical warfare? What was the just cause? Can I continue? Yeah, the just cause for people like Kaplan is we did it. Therefore, it's a just cause. You can read that in the Nazi archives, too.